Shohei Ohtani benched. Is he bad, actually? You decide. My name's Ryan Bershinger. Of course, the answer there is no. We've got a lot of great things that have gone on for the Dodgers over this past week, plus a fantastic homestand. A lot of positives to take away. Yes, Ohtani still kind of struggling with runners in scoring position. We'll get into that, but we've got a bunch of positives on the horizon.
There are so many positives. It's really hard to pick from, Ryan. Not just that, though. Chris Taylor is the luckiest guy right now in the world. We're going to talk about that. I'm Monse Bolaños.
And just the two of us today. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodger Zone. Let's go.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. The Dodger Zone.
Strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
The sickest LA Dodgers podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Yes, just Monse and I today. Bo Benson needs to rest the arm a bit, of course, with the slew of Tommy John surgeries. We got to make sure we're all fresh for the season, right?
Nice job, Ryan. That was good. That was quick.
Okay.
That was good.
Thank you. Hey, I am a professional, so we gotta flex that muscle sometimes. So yeah, the Dodgers have won 8 of their last 10, and a very impressive homestand. Enacted their revenge on those dreaded Washington Nationals, and
easily. It was, yeah. What a different story it was all of a
sudden. And of course, went out to Toronto. Shohei Ohtani finally was on a plane to Toronto. And then he quickly took off in Toronto as well. A slew of boos in front of that crowd and said, guess what? I can hit it 450 feet. This is what you're missing out on. Sorry about that. Thanks, Shark Tank.
I know. It was so perfect too. Like, not that it was perfect that we lost that game, but it was like there was still something good that came from it. So yeah. It was like, all right, yeah. He literally, despite the boos, despite the drama, he was like, watch this. Watch this. And that's literally that's what we want. Mm-hmm. We want the drama in LA. Like we want that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a really incredible road trip because then of course bouncing over to Arizona and being welcomed by a beehive, which is always a great way to spend. Monse, have you ever been stung by a bee?
I'm sure I have, but I don't remember it being such a terrible experience, but I'm sure I have. And I have dealt with a thing like that. Like at my parents' house, I remember walking outside, like I just let the dog out. This was, I don't know, maybe like 7 years ago. And I stepped outside onto their porch and it was an entire beehive. Like it seemed like thousands of bees in the corner. And I was like, Dexter, get inside. And my parents were like in Costa Rica or something. So I'm like, what do I do? And obviously the thing is, don't touch them. Call somebody, Oh my God, it was terrifying. And when I saw that, I was like, how is that possible? It just happens in the blink of an eye. It was so fast.
And I've been stung one time, and it's probably in top 5 of worst places to be stung in on your body. It was the top of my ear.
Not where I thought we were going. So that's
yeah. I expanded to top 5. Okay, there's a very clear probably top 2 or 3. This is in the 4 or 5 range. It was the top of my ear, and this bee had a death wish. This was a personal attack. I am walking down the street. I was walking from a movie theater near my house back to my house. And a bee starts coming at the back of my head, and it just ran right into the back of my head. So I feel it. I'm like, what the hell? I kind of brush it off. It then goes back to the back of my head, and I'm like, okay, come on. I try not to actually make contact with bees because I don't want to anger them. But this one I kind of did
exactly what you did.
It then lands on the top of my ear, and so I grab it and take it and throw it down because like, again, this was personal. Like, I must have ran into this bee at some point prior to this, because this was completely unprompted, lands on my ear. And of course, when I grab it, it then stung the top of my ear. I went to a nearby restaurant, just walked right in, went straight to their bathroom, and I'm like washing my ear, and I'm going, how the hell? Like, why did this happen? This is so weird.
You probably killed it. It probably died on its own, because if they lose the stinger, they die.
Yeah.
But if not, it sounds like you smashed it because you were mad that this bee was personally attacking you.
Listen, it started it, okay? It got into a fight it could not win, which was, again, a death wish from the beginning for the bee. Look, save the bees. As the beekeeper or technically pest control expert in Arizona did safely and securely remove all the bees, and all the bees have been taken to a place where they can live and continue to pollinate, which is very important. But that one bee that attacked my ear, I'll say it deserved to die. That one, we're better off without that one.
Right. No, I didn't know you had such a story with a bee.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's the only time. I thought I had been stung by a bee before that, but once you actually get stung by a bee, you're like, oh no, that wasn't a sting. That was that wasn't real. This time, yeah, like it was, of course, I'm not allergic, thank God, but it did, cause my top of my earlobe to swell up for a day or two, and that was
you're traumatized.
Yeah.
It's evident.
It is an incredibly awful spot to get an injury, right on the top of the ear. It's just so annoying. But who was not taking bee stings to the earlobes is the Dodgers. Good transition, Ryan. So again, an incredibly strong road trip. Their only losses were games that, like, you had the bullpen game in Toronto, and then the late night extra inning game that was, started 2 hours late because of a beehive.
And Landon Knack, like, good for him. He still pitched, and like, he wasn't bad. He was not bad. Like, we were in it, and like, I was not upset in the loss. Like, I didn't even finish the game. I fell asleep. Did you? I fell asleep, and I woke up and I was like, we lost. Squeeze. I couldn't believe it. And I also went to extra innings, but it was late. It was so late. Like, I'm glad they played it, and I'm glad the people got that experience, because it's a fun thing to remember that insect person. You said it wasn't a bee person? Insect.
He's very particular. He works in pest control specifically. So he's not really a beekeeper. He didn't have his own, what are those boxes that they like keep the bees in? Bees are just one of many things that he can do. He's a man of many talents.
Got it. Talented man. Got it. He loved that they played that hero song when he was out there. Like, it's like, it was again, we lost, but there was so many other things to talk about during the game. So about the game. So it was like, not mad about it.
That day too was, and we'll actually talk baseball in a second, I swear, but that day too was a fascinating day in general in baseball, because you had the benches clearing brawl in Milwaukee, which, like, once I saw the video, I'm like, all right, there were a couple punches here. Like, after Rougned Odor and Jose Bautista, like, everything feels tame. So it was like, they took some swings. This is fine. And there was also a man at Citi Field who did the 999 challenge. Are you familiar with the 999?
No, tell me.
I'm not speaking German. It's 9 innings, 9 hot dogs, and 9 beers. And this man, I saw this on Twitter. I believe he was successful as successful as he could be. But he was such a big success in the crowd that, like, people in the crowd started to throw hot dogs at him because they were so hyped that this man was plowing through hot dogs. He had tallies on it. On his shirt, he had a tally for every. In New York colloquially, they call it the glizzy. So they had tallies for the glizzies and tallies for the beers. And
that is impressive.
Yes.
And alarming.
Oh,
all
yeah.
at the same.
No, it's so people were so hyped that they're throwing hot dogs at him, and he's loving it. But this became such a rather large distraction in the stands that he was removed from the stadium. So the story goes that this man was ejected from the game for just being too good at eating hot dogs.
Ah,
So
real
again,
MVP. I take it all back. The real
yeah.
MVP.
It was a fascinating night in baseball, headlined by the B delay. But yeah, the Dodgers ended up losing that game. And as you mentioned, like Landon Knack did a great job in his run. He did get sent back to the minors. The reason why, and we'll get more into it, Walker Buehler is going to be coming back, which is great news. But this was best case scenario for Landon Knack to come up and have a couple starts where he was very serviceable. Like he wasn't overpowering, but he got the job done. Definitely quality outings every time. He looks like he can be a guy who's relied upon to be a spot starter. And if another guy does go down in the rotation, God willing, doesn't happen, but if that does happen later in the season, it's great to know that you have a guy like Knack that you can trust to come up from AAA and start for a month or two.
I'm so with you. I thought of that. I was like, hopefully we don't have to bring him back up. But if there is a reason, I feel like he already went through a little bit of even adversity. Remember that first game where right away 2 home runs in the first inning? And so he had to already like compose himself. And so I'm glad that he went through that already. And again, quality outings, nothing crazy where I'm like, oh my God, you're going to, win the next Cy Young or anything like that. But somebody that is nice to have in our back pocket right now.
Yeah.
Someone just feel comfortable and confident with. So I'm with you. I was like, I couldn't believe he still pitched, to be honest with you, after all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like when that was delayed like close to 2 hours, right? And
oh my gosh, yes.
when that happens, like starters get so thrown off because of the way that they have to prepare for their start.
Right.
So the fact that he was still able to go.
The starter, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they scratched their starter.
Yeah. So really good on Landon there, and he'll be back. I think the send down was not not a result of performance. It was just simply like, you're not going to send James Paxton down, because I don't think you can anyway. He's 85 years old and he doesn't have those options. But and I know like people have not been crazy about Paxton. I think that James Paxton is doing exactly what I expected him to do, which was be fine. He's a fifth starter. At this point in his career, he's had some outings where he's been pretty good, and then sometimes he gets like 3 or 4 runs, and that's it is what it is. That should still be winnable with this team.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is what it is, because it's like, yeah, I would pick somebody else if we had somebody else better, but I was never expecting. Not in a bad way, much. I just thought he was just going to be there to help us get through, 5 and 6.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, and of course, the one game on this road trip that they didn't win was kind of the bullpen game, right? And it's funny, after last episode where I'm like, I'm gotta say that Michael Grove is good now. He had a good first inning, and then got lit up a bit in the second. But of course, like then the rest of the bullpen, like Grove was the only guy who gave up runs in that game. And so if you're giving up, if you're only getting like they lost 3-1 in that one. So
our offense also didn't do anything either.
Yeah.
It just, you couldn't get mad at the bullpen too much, because it's like a team like the Dodgers, 1 run, not what you're expecting. That's a fail. Like if you win a game by 1-0, thank someone's God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
right.
the Dodgers need to score more than 1 run every single game. So that's another thing with that loss, where I was like, I'm not super mad about it. There's other losses that we have felt already this season that have been very annoying and very upsetting and very like, we should not be going through this right now. And we are. So these 2 losses, cake, not worried.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was the same thing with the extra inning game where it was like 2-2, or they were up 2-1 in the 8th, and then Daniel Hudson gave up a run, and I saw that, and I'm like, you can't blame the bullpen for not getting you a win in a 2-1 game. That's on the offense. Like, So, but overall, though, of course, the offense has been great because you have games in Toronto where they're winning what it was like 12-2. They just beat the Diamondbacks 8-0 in their last game of this road trip. We're seeing the offense shine, and that's because in parts too, we're seeing depth in the lineup. We're seeing guys like Miguel Rojas step up offensively. Andy Baez has been fantastic. And I think he's done enough to absolutely secure his spot on this team if Jason Hayward does ever force his way back into the active roster. But of course, like Hayward, the last I saw, he's not rehabbing. He's going to have to rehab at some point. So I think Baez has plenty of time still where we're going to be able to keep playing him. And quite frankly, right now, he should be in the lineup every day.
Yeah, no. There should be no question about it. No dilemma here as to whether we should be sending Pages down. 8 consecutive games with hits, batting average in the last 8 games, 363, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 7 runs scored. Like, what else could we ask from this guy right now? So no reason to break up this momentum, this rhythm, this whatever he's feeling, because he's feeling something. He's feeling something. And it was like, all right, the first couple of games you had some hits, and I was like, all right, yeah, maybe it's just a little bit of beginner's luck. Now I'm starting to feel like it's not beginner's luck, and it's just him getting comfortable, So no reason to even consider him not playing right now. No, that would be stupid.
Yeah. So it's great to see the fact that Pages has really shown that he's in fact a major league outfielder. Pages had kind of had an interesting development where he looked very strong, but he didn't. I believe this year was the first time he actually cracked the top 100 prospects. He wasn't seen fully as like a super high profile can't miss prospect, but it was always seen as a guy who had a very solid bat that could develop at a major league level. And he's already proven that he can absolutely do that. So, and he's playing center field too, which is just, it was awesome.
Yeah.
One negative I just want to mention, as I mentioned in the beginning, Otani has had his struggles with runners in scoring position continue. A couple at bats that just simply didn't look good with the bases loaded. But yet, despite that, of course, like the Dodgers are still winning, and he still also is hitting the ball at 450 miles an hour, like when it's traveling 450 feet. So I did take a look. Like Ohtani is still for his career, he's a 300 hitter with runners in scoring position. He hit like 380 with runners in scoring position last year, something like that. He's traditionally been able to do it, so I'm not concerned with the fact that it's like 180 right now.
Yeah, obviously he wants to do it. All we hear about is this guy's like worth ethic, and he does seem like he really just wants to play baseball. And so I think it's a little bit of what I said, where I think he just he wants it so bad, and he's so used to having to deliver, being the only guy. And I feel like maybe he's still putting a little bit of pressure on himself. He does say that he expands his strike zone when there's runners in scoring position, and maybe he shouldn't be doing that in that situation. So he's entertaining what the issue could be. I really just think it's just he wants it so bad, and maybe he's thinking about it. And one of the things with Shohei, it's like we really haven't even given credit where to a player who's been dealing with so much drama outside, he still gets so focused. And that is the one thing that I think he's just so extra focused on that it hasn't clicked. But I'm with you. It's going to click. But it's just, it hasn't yet. It's going to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw too, his expected batting average is close to 300 in terms of with runners in scoring position. So also something interesting to note, Mookie Betts, of course, his numbers have been fantastic, incredible. But even then, I looked up what his numbers are like with runners in scoring position, because I didn't feel like they were super strong. But he's hitting 542 with runners in scoring position. He's hitting over 5. He's also, and this is interesting too, he's walking a quarter of the time. He's got a 25% walk rate with runners in scoring position. And part of that, some people will look at that and think, well, he's not being aggressive enough. He's a guy who should be driving in runs. He now has Shohei Ohtani hitting behind him. Yes, I understand the last couple of years he's had Freddie Freeman hitting behind him, but there's an extra layer of fear that pitchers have when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. So Mookie is maybe being pitched around a little, and not pitched around. They're being careful with him because they don't want to give him stuff that's going to put him on, but then because of that, they kind of pitch around him. That sounds weird, but the point I'm making is that the lineup behind Mookie has just continued to lift up his production, and he is also. This is the better point. He's being more patient at the plate with runners in scoring position with Ohtani behind him because he knows that he is still a leadoff man, and so he's approaching it like a leadoff hitter. So he won't be as aggressive on pitches that are outside of the zone, so that way he can get on base, and that's worked incredibly well.
It has worked incredibly well. I haven't looked at the latest number, but like he is stealing bases this year.
Yeah,
like nobody's been watching compared to last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, I want to say he had a total, I'm going to be off, but maybe 14 for the year. And he was already at like 8 this year.
Yeah.
Like he is obviously just trying to do the most he can in every possible position. And he knows if he can get on base, he could probably outrun the throw. And so, yeah, like he's being smart. He may, even if you want to call it that he's not being aggressive, okay, fine, but it still is working. Even if you want to say that and that he's just taking the more smarter, logical approach and that he's not being that aggressive, I'm okay with that statement. It's still working. He knows what he's doing. He's getting on base.
Yeah. No, it's he did do an interview recently where he talked about the fact that he wanted to get his stolen base numbers up again. That he's more focused on being aggressive on the base pass because it was such a weapon for him. He was a true 5-tool player when he was with the Red Sox, and that speed kind of dropped off a bit. And he wants to be able to still be that 5-tool player. And he's currently on pace to have like a 15-win season, which is like better than Mike Trout's MVP years. Like it's just bonkers, like what he's doing offensively. So there's so many positives. Just to wrap up, one thought we had from last episode where we had talked about how good Yoshinobu Yamamoto had been, but his numbers didn't look as good because of that one inning in Korea. Since last episode, Yamamoto is not allowed to run. So he has been back-to-back 6-inning scoreless outings. He's just looked phenomenal. And so I think we can lay to rest this idea of him potentially not being good. Like he's proven that he's in fact a top tier arm.
And he needed to. He needed to bounce back because yes, I said I'm sorry, but the expectation was high and I needed you to deliver. And I'm glad that he has delivered sooner rather than later and that, I'm eating my words. I'm fine with that. But he needed to play like that. Like there was no other question. I'm sorry. I'm not surprised. I'm like, it's about damn time. It's about damn time. Yes.
Yeah. So
and I was right on the money about Mookie, by the way. I was right on the money. So last year he had 14 stolen bases and this year already 8.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's we'll get a good 30-30 season from Mookie. That's that would be ideal.
Right. That's right. Right.
So again, a lot of positives going on, but there is one negative that still continues to persist. And Monse, you had mentioned that you believe Chris Taylor is the luckiest man in the world.
I mean, how is he not the luckiest man in the world right now? My guy, we love you, CT3, but you're batting 78. 78. And no, you shouldn't be on any major league team, but good thing for Chris Taylor, the Dodgers aren't losing, Ryan. They're not losing. And you know what's so funny? He had an at-bat with the bases loaded, and he had a hit. Like, what is you are so lucky that nobody's paying attention to how, no, we are paying attention to how bad you are, but we're not losing. And so it's you know what I'm saying? Like, your leash has they've extended your leash, definitely, Chris Taylor. And it's a good thing because I like you. I want you to figure this out. But like, you are just the luckiest mofo right now because the Dodgers are winning because you are bad. And I just want it to be better. I hate it. I cringe when he goes up there because I feel like he's cringing on the inside.
Yeah.
But wait, we're not losing. So it's all good. All gravy for now. For now.
Yeah, if he was on a team like the Rockies or the Marlins, where they're not trying to compete that hard and they're also not winning anyway, he would have been DFA'd because they would watch these at bats and go, these could be at bats where we could get young guys in getting more work. There's no reason to really have him in the roster at this point. So he's in a perfect situation where the Dodgers continue to win. The fan base loves him. The team loves him. And he's, getting paid very much like a guy that the fans and the team love. So he still has, obviously, we know what Chris Taylor can do. We know the importance of his versatility. But also, unfortunately for us, Kike has been producing rather well. And not just against lefties too. He's getting action against. I mean, I guess we've just kind of faced a lot of lefties recently, and that's been very fortunate too. But he's been producing when he's getting action. And again, like I had mentioned in the past, Kike and Chris Taylor are kind of redundant on the roster because they both provide the same amount of positional flexibility and can really only hit lefties well at this point. And Chris Taylor can't hit anything well right now. So yeah, he's very fortunate that he's also got a manager who his philosophy is, if the veterans are getting off to a slow start in the season, I'm going to continue to put them out there because eventually they're going to be fine. We haven't really seen many signs of life. Like you said, that bases loaded hit was huge. But that tripled his hit total or whatever. So that's
with runners in scoring position, he has 2 hits and 5 RBIs. So it's it's just funny. You wouldn't think that his batting average is 78. You're just like, what? Chris Taylor? No. But again, luckiest guy around. Luckiest guy around. You should go buy a scratcher. Luckiest guy around.
And if you win anything from the scratcher, give that to us. We know how much you make, Chris. You don't need that.
You don't need it. But I'm just saying, right now you're the luckiest. So goodness.
One more positive that's on the horizon. Walker Buehler is going to make his first start in nearly 2 years on Monday. Which is wild. I understand that, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it also does because I'm fairly certain this April was 80 days long. Like this was the longest April in human history. It felt like the longest month of my life. But yes, Walker Buehler's finally back. I think it's important for everyone to kind of temper your expectations. He's coming back in a great situation for him where he does not need to be the best pitcher on this staff right now. He doesn't need to be the second best pitcher on this staff right now. He just kind of needs to show that him getting back to close to where he was is possible. But it is interesting and fair to note, Bo and I had texted about this recently, and he was very alarmed by Walker Buehler's minor league rehab starts where he didn't go super. I mean, he threw like 85 pitches, but for like 4 innings. His velocity wasn't great, and he was getting hit. But I try not to put. I look at rehab starts in the same way as I look at spring training. Guys are not necessarily trying to win ball games. They're just trying to find what feels right again. But the velocity being down a tick is not ideal, obviously. But I also wouldn't expect him to be throwing like 99 again. I also kind of don't want him to be throwing 99 again until the postseason, because it is scary, because you're kind of playing with fire in terms of Buehler's health. But the team feels strongly about being able to roll him back out. this is a great addition to have in the rotation, and I'm looking forward to having him back because I still think like he's gonna still give solid starts. He's just not going to be like postseason Walker Buehler, and that's fine. We don't need that for quite some time.
Yeah, 20 months since, his second Tommy John surgery. So I am also taking the outings at AAA with a grain of salt. I think he just wanted to feel it out. And I'm with you. Like, I don't need you throwing as hard as you can right now. Like, there has to be a ramp up here, right? And we all always hear that major league to minor league, it's still a big jump. So like, even though he's going through these rehab games, it's not the same. So it's like, why would he was probably trying to make sure that he could put the ball where he wants, that he can have control of it, that he feels comfortable more than anything. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt and hoping that it is going to be, I'm with you, Ryan. I think we have to accept it's not going to be hot from the start. It's probably going to be a slow start to him getting back to what I think, I agree with you, what he can be, what he can get back to. I think he can do that, but it's going to be a slow, going for that. And it should be okay. We got to just hope for the best, but it's going to be, a progress, a slow one.
Yeah. Well, Monse, you will be at the stadium on Monday night for Buehler's return to action. I didn't even know he was going to be playing. So this was all luck. Worked out.
Be there. Yeah.
I want to know, because this is something I've a very serious topic that I've wanted to address on this podcast for quite some time. There's a lot of new food at Dodger Stadium. Okay. There's a lot of options and a lot of stuff that I really want to try. Okay. I've only been to one game as we talked about last time, right there. I got the beer bat. But I still had a Dodger dog. I would have had the churro ice cream sundae. However, that line was going to take at least 2 innings, and it was the 6th inning at this point. But what have you? Because you were also a tour guide at the stadium, so you are there fairly often.
Yes, I do look at things. Yes, when I'm there. I told you to get it, but you didn't go. The fried peanut butter, banana, and jelly sandwich, which I inhaled like I've never eaten food before. Like, it was better than I thought it was going to be. And my mouth is watering right now. I thought it was going to be super sweet, like very desserty. Like, where I was going to have a bite and be like, oh yeah, that's good. But you can finish it, Yeah. I like inhaled my half, and my friend who I was with, John, hi, John, who I work with. He's like, are you done with your half? And I was like, squeeze, don't judge. Yes. It was that, like, my mouth is watering. There's also this platter, this like tempura platter that is vegetarian friendly, which is what I am. But it came with these like chicken kebabs, so you guys can eat all that. It came with these like pot stickers that had some meat in them. John ate all of that, and he inhaled it, so it must have been good. But then they had these giant veggie egg rolls in there, and I inhaled them. And then they had these fried veggie like all over it, like all kinds of delicious veggies. It was so good, like a whole platter. So delicious. My mouth is watering. So delicious. And then he had this like Korean like chicken thing with like fries. All the like, it's just, my mouth is watering. And there's still more. This is all we've gotten to. This is like literally all we've gotten to try, because there's so much new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I am excited. Like,
So
there's
good.
a lot of really good stuff that I've seen tossed out. And in terms of, like, of course, there's some sushi this year.
Yes.
There's I'm tempted by the takoyaki, which is octopus balls.
I heard that they were good. I'm not
Okay.
going to have that, but I heard that they were good. And a friend of mine who doesn't eat anything, literally does not like anything, had it and was like, that's pretty good.
Oh goodness. We got a chicken katsu sandwich,
Yep.
short rib bowl, kurobuta pork sausage dogs,
Okay.
kurobuta yakisoba dogs. Wow.
It's just so many
And
things.
that's where the chicken katsu bowl is at the LA Feeds Blue. There is my goodness, we could do an entire episode just on food at the stadium, which is great, by the way. Like the fact that like stadium food has gotten to this level where we have like such a diverse option. Yeah, it's wonderful because of course a classic Dodger dog is always good, which I believe the onions are back, right?
Yes, they are. Yes, that's true. Yes.
Welcome back. Good to have you home. The onions have returned. Yeah, no, that's great. But of course,
Big day.
I'm happy that I started the season just with the simple Dodger dog, the humble, simple Dodger dog. I think it was the all beef version, which you kind of have to go with the all beef version because.
No, you don't. The veggie one is just as good, people.
Okay, that's
just
true.
So you
actually,
know. I can probably give you the veggie one. You don't even know it. Okay,
that is true. No, the veggie Dodger dog is actually very good. That's and listen, the normal Dodger dog, you don't really. I mean, it might not be meat for all we know. Like, quite frankly, if it's a hot dog,
like the Taco Bell tacos, like the Taco Bell tacos. You don't know what's in that.
No,
not sure,
but it's great.
but...
I'll eat it. I'll absolutely eat it.
Most people
Goodness.
do.
Yeah. So okay. So next time I go to the game, I'm gonna try something new, something fresh. Every time I go to a game, I'm gonna try something new. We'll bring it back here and report whatever you have on Monday. Please bring it back and report because, quite frankly, this is the stuff people actually want to hear, which is, of course, food talk. All right, well, we'll end it there because you always want to end on the best topic of the show, and again, it's the food talk. Monse, I know, actually, I'm genuinely hungry now. Well, enjoy the game Monday. Hopefully we get some fun from Walker Buehler and coming back home. Hopefully no bees at the stadium this time.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, that'd be crazy. No.
Find a new home. All right. Well, on behalf of Bo Benson, who is here in spirit, don't worry, he'll be back next time. He's fine. Everything's okay. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodger Zone. Be sure to follow us on Twitter on Twitter. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Tell all your friends. It's the best Dodgers food podcast out there. We will catch you next time. Again, thank you, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, the Dodger Zone, on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.